In this lecture, we will build a foundation for understanding modern farm management. First, we will analyze how farm structures have changed over time and why that matters for today's farmers. Then, we will define strategic management and discuss the role of mission statements and long-term goals in agricultural enterprises. We will also walk through a structural decision-making process that farmers use to identify problems and choose the best solutions. Finally, we will look at how farms are distributed across different sales classes and how farm structure directly shapes management decisions. By the end of this lecture, you should be able to connect strategy, structure, and day-to-day decision-making in real farm businesses. Farm management has changed significantly over the past decades. Today, we see fewer farms overall, but the farms that remain are larger, more specialized, and more business-oriented. Let me give you an example from US. In the United States, large and very large farms together make up less than 5% of all farms. Yet, they produce almost half of the US agricultural value. Management decisions are no longer based only on production, like yields or livestock numbers, but also on markets, risk, finance, and long-term sustainability. This shift means that modern farmers must think like managers and entrepreneurs, not just producers. Understanding these trends helps explain why strategic planning is no longer optional in agriculture. It is essential. Modern farms generally follow one of four strategic paths. The first is low volume, high value production. These farms focus on niche markets such as organic products, local food, or specialty items. Profit comes from value, not scale. The second strategy is high volume, low margin production. These farms focus on efficiency and scale. Typical examples include grain and commodity crop operations. The third group includes specialty service providers. These farms generate income through services like custom harvesting, consulting, and agritourism rather than traditional production alone. Finally, we have part-time operators. These are often lifestyle farms where households' income depends heavily on off-farm employment. Each strategy requires very different management decisions, investment, and risk tolerance. Agriculture today operates in a fully globalized environment. Farmers are no longer isolated. Their success is influenced by global weather events, international policies, and changing consumer preferences around the world. The idea of comparative advantage explains why countries specialize in producing what their climate and resources allow them to produce most efficiently. Trade liberalization through organizations like the World Trade Organization or agreements such as NAFTA aims to reduce trade barriers and promote efficiency. For farmers, globalization creates both opportunities and threats. Efficient producers can access new markets, while others may struggle as protections decreases. From the consumer's perspective, global trade increases food variety, lowers prices, and improves year-round availability of food. Management in agriculture consists of four core functions. First is planning. Defining the mission of the business, setting goals, and choosing strategies. Second is organizing, acquiring resources such as land, labor, and capital, and putting plans into action. Third is controlling, monitoring performance, keeping records, and comparing results with goals. And finally, evaluating and adjusting, analyzing outcomes, identifying problems, and modifying plans for future success. Effective farm management requires continuous movement through all four these functions. Another important issue, strategic versus tactical management. At this point, it is important to distinguish between strategic and tactical management. Strategic management focuses on long-term direction, where the farm is going and how it will compete. Tactical management, on the other hand, focuses on short-term actions and daily decisions that support the overall strategy. You can think of strategy as choosing the destination and tactics as steering the farm day by day to get there. Strategic management follows a structured process. It begins by clearly defining the farm's mission as purpose. Next, long-term goals are formulated. Then the farm assesses its internal resources such as land, labor, and capital. At the same time, the external environment is analyzed, markets, policies, and technology. Based on this information, strategies are selected, implemented, and continuously refined as conditions change. Defining the mission plays a vital role in agriculture. A mission statement is therefore a short explanation of why the business exists. Some farm missions focus strictly on profitability, while others reflect broader family, social, and cultural values. A strong mission statement highlights the unique strengths, talents, and priorities of the farm and its managers. This mission becomes a reference point for all major decisions, especially during periods of uncertainty or conflict. Goals translate the mission into measurable targets. They serve as the foundation for decision making and reflect the underlying values of the owners. Because farms often involve multiple stakeholders, family members, partners, or successors, goal setting frequently requires communication and compromise. Clear goals help ensure that everyone involved in working toward the same long-term direction. In terms of assessing business resources, internal scanning involves an honest assessment of the farm strengths and weaknesses. Physical resources include land quality, livestock genetics, and machinery and buildings. Human resources focus on the skills, experience, and preferences of operators and employees. Financial resources involve evaluating capital availability and credit capacity using financial statements. This assessment helps managers choose strategies that are realistic and achievable. External scanning looks beyond the farm gate. Managers analyze market trends, including changes in consumer preferences and international trade opportunities. Economic and legal factors such as input prices, regulations, and trade policies are also very critical. Technology plays a major role. Early adoption of new practices can provide a competitive advantage. Together, these factors reveal opportunities and threats facing the farm. Once internal and external analyses are complete, managers select strategies that align with their mission, goals, and resources. Implementation is just as important as selection. Strategies must be translated into concrete actions, monitored regularly, and adjusted as conditions change. Strategic management is not a one-time exercise. It is an ongoing process. Tactical management focuses on short-term, day-to-day decisions. This includes selecting feed rations, timing sales, managing labor, and handling daily operations. Tactical decisions ensure that the farm stays on course toward its long-term strategic goals. In other words, tactics turn strategy into action. So, tactical decisions follow a structured process. Managers identify a problem, generate alternatives, evaluate costs and benefits, and select the best option because agriculture operates under uncertainty. Decision making often involves managing risk rather than eliminating it. Decision making in agriculture is unique. Biological process and unpredictable weather create production risk that managers cannot fully control. Land is fixed and limited resource, making it especially valuable. Most farmers operate at a small scale, where the owner, manager, and laborer are often the same person, blending business and family goals. Finally, farmers typically operate in perfectly competitive markets, meaning they are price takers rather than price setters. To summarize, modern agriculture is characterized by fewer but larger and more specialized farms. Success depends on understanding global markets, comparative advantage, and the risk and opportunities of trade liberalization. Strategic management involves defining a mission, setting goals, and aligning internal resources with external conditions. Tactical management focuses on daily decisions that implement the broader strategy. Finally, agricultural decision making is shaped by biological risk, fixed land supply, perfect competition, and close integration of family and business roles.